I was born on March the 10th, 1927, and that makes me 93 years old. I was born about 2.5 miles south of Cottonwood here on on a ranch. It's right now it's the Mule Ranch. My mother's maiden name was Unterreiner, and she was from South Dakota. My mother was related to the Holthouses, and she came out here to visit the Holthouses one summer, and that's how my dad met her. Yeah, he was born. Well, he was born in Iowa, but when he was a couple of years old, uh, they moved to Cottonwood. Yeah. My dad told me when he started school here in Cottonwood, of course, he went to a sister school, and the first year, the nuns taught in German, but then the public school, they made him go to English. I guess he was in the second grade when they did that. Yeah. My dad enjoyed talking German. In fact, they had a kind of a club. They'd get together and talk German every once in a while when he was older. Yeah. When I was 5 years old, my dad was elected county assessor, and we moved to Grangeville. So we lived in Grangeville about 10 years. I went all through grade school in Grangeville. And then my freshman year in high school, we moved back to Cottonwood, out on the ranch. We were considered city kids when we moved back to Cottonwood, out on the ranch. Things were pretty tough economically, and he bought some more land, and just so he could get back out on the ranch where he gives us kids to have something to do. And boy, he did. I think we moved out on the ranch, and they had about 7, 8 cows to milk all the time, and something to feed. And he kept us busy, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, my freshman year of high school, I went up to the St. Gertrude's Academy, but the other 3 years, I went to Cottonwood High School. Yeah. After high school, I went into the Navy. I enlisted in March of my senior year, and I had to go down to Boise to take a physical, and I didn't pass the urine test. And well, some other local guys, a couple other local guys here, and I drank quite a bit of beer that night before, and the recruiter down there, Lewiston, told me, he said, well, you stay here and drink a lot of water and come back the next day. So I did. Well, I passed the urine test all right, and normally they just send us back, and then they'd call us when they wanted us to go to boot camp. Well, they had a draft going to San Diego, but they were short one person. And so I asked them if I could take that guy's place. So I got to, and they said, okay. well, another 6 weeks and I'd have been finished with high school anyway. Yeah, but I graduated all right. I was in the Navy for about 15 months. The VJ Day, I was on in the Marshall Islands on an island, Anahuac, and we were out there in the lagoon at Anahuac, and I ended up being out there for about a year. They sent all the people back to the states that had been out there the longest, so it took about a year before they got around to myself. Yeah. After the Navy, I came back here from March. I got here back here in March of let's see, what year would that be? Yeah, 46, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, listed in the Army for 3 years. I spent most of the time I was in the Army in Alaska. That was before Alaska was a state, you know. Yeah, that was considered overseas. I was in the Navy and the Army. One brother was in the Marine Corps. Another one was in the Coast Guard. So we pretty well covered it, the family. The family, yeah. Well, my brother, Pat, he was a military man. He went through the Naval Academy, and he got, see, I can't remember what year that was, but he was a career military man. He got killed in a plane accident on Taiwan. It was bad weather, and he wasn't a pilot, but he was a navigator. They had navigators in those days. Yeah. And Tom, brother, he was in the Marine Corps during Korea. And I don't know if you've ever heard that expression, once a Marine, always a Marine. Well, he was a good example of that. Yeah. And then two younger brothers, Jack, he he ended up as an attorney back in Washington, D.C. Well, he lived in Virginia, just outside of Washington. And Bill, he was in business with my dad around here. My dad was in real estate and insurance business, and Bill was working with him. Yeah. I had one sister. Yeah, she became a nun. She ended up in Africa. Old people used to ask me, "Hey, remember we're going to go back and visit your sister?" And I did, but I just kept putting it off. And then my son, Steve, talked me into it one time, and he went with me. When she first went over there, she was a teacher. And then they went through apartheid, where whites couldn't, because of their government, the whites couldn't teach the blacks. And then she got started, her order did, they got started taking in abandoned children, and they, be, they became very notable for what they did for picking up kids and educating them and so on, yeah. Well, she died of a heart attack, but she was visiting a place back there, and somebody hijacked her car with her in it, and she had a heart attack. And then it was they got the two guys that did that. I never did. They went to trial, and but I don't know what they sentenced them to. But they did, yeah. I'm the only one left of our family. I was the oldest too. Yeah. Oh, after the army, why I went to school in Portland. Went to the University of Portland school. Met Maxine, and when I was going to school in Portland, yeah, I was working for Commercial Credit, and I talked to her on the phone, okay, a couple times a day, I guess. She was a receptionist for a car dealer, and Commercial Credit was financing the car dealer. Now I had to go down to the Dalles one late afternoon and repossess a car, pick up a car, anyway. And after she wanted to go along, she did. That's how we got started. we got married in 1955. We had a real short honeymoon. We got married in November of 55, and the weather was really, I had a cold winter that year, yeah. Well, we were married for a little over 50 years, and she got lung cancer, and she was 10 years younger than me. Yeah. Maxine was a real, she was an excellent piano player. We used to have what we called drinking and singing parties with people we knew. If she knew anything about you that would irritate you or stir you up, why she liked to do that. Just for the fun of it, you know. Yeah. When she had labor with Bob, she woke me up. She said, I went into labor, and didn't take me very long, and I was dressed, and I was taking her to the hospital. she she always she got a kick out of how excited I got. And we had 5 kids, 3 boys and 2 girls. None of our kids stuck it out in Cottonwood. But the oldest one, Bob, he lives in Portland. Marla lives in Seattle. Steve lives in Seattle. And Marty lives in Fairbanks, Alaska. Yeah. ever since a little kid, I wanted to learn how to fly, and I got the job done. Louis Weimer taught me how to fly. Yeah. One of the last trips I took, Maxine and I flew over to Missoula one Sunday and then come back. Yeah. Went over to Missoula and landed and turned around and took off again and came back to Cottonwood. Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to like to fish, yeah. Especially I like to go up into those mountain lakes and fish. Yeah. Well, I like to go up in that country anyway with that. And we went fishing. One lake up there in the hump called Rainbow Lake, and it's quite a climb in and out of that road. And I think I went down there 3 different times and got skunked every time. I never caught a fish. And I never did think I'd come back to Cottonwood to live, but I ended up coming back here because I had a job offer that I liked, and that was working at Shell bulk plant here in Cottonwood, and that turned out to be my career. That, yeah, I pretty well covered Idaho and Lewis County when I did deliver fuel. I was at that for 43 years. I worked by myself most of the time. At times I had people work for me at a short time, but most of the time I worked by myself. I retired when I was 70 years old, and I'm 93 now, so I've been retired for 23 years. Yeah. Boy, doesn't seem that long ago, but yeah, it is.